I never forget the first time I saw it. It was 12:37 a.m. The kind of late night where the city feels like it's holding its breath. My apartment was dark except for the blue glow of my laptop. I sat hunched forward, elbows on my knees, scrolling through forums most people don't even know exist. For me, it was just another night, another hunt through the shadows. I've been doing this for years, tracking the worst of humanity online. Drugs, weapons, fraud. You name it, I've seen it. Most nights it's just noise. A lot of petty criminals trying to make a quick buck. But that night, I found something that made my blood run cold. It was a simple post. Almost too simple. Just a string of numbers and letters for a title. A price. A short description. $1,500. 2 years old, healthy. Delivery possible. For a second, I thought I was misreading it. My eyes skimmed over it twice, then 3 times. But no, it was exactly what it looked like. Someone wasn't selling drugs. Someone wasn't selling guns. They were selling a child. I froze. You don't get used to moments like that. No matter how long you've been in this job, some things still hit you like a punch to the gut. I just sat there, staring at the screen. My coffee went cold in my hand. The room around me felt suddenly too quiet. I wanted to believe it was fake, some sick joke, a scam to get money from desperate, twisted buyers. But my training told me to check. I clicked the username. The account wasn't new. It was years old, with dozens of completed transactions, good reviews from other users. Whatever this was, it wasn't a prank. I felt my stomach twist. You have to understand, in law enforcement, there's a process for everything. You find something like this, you escalate it, you pass it through the right channels. But I couldn't shake the image of that little line of text. A child with a price tag. And every second I sat there filling out forms was another second that kid was in danger. I made a choice. I closed my work laptop and reached for the burner laptop I keep for deep operations. I booted it up, wiped my connection, switched to a VPN that routed through 3 countries. Then I created a new identity. New username, new backstory, new buyer profile. Everything about this person had to look believable, just another predator, another faceless buyer in the market. It took me 30 minutes to craft my first message. 30 minutes of second-guessing every word. Too eager and they'll smell a trap. Too careful and they won't take you seriously. You have to sound like someone who's done this before. Someone who doesn't flinch. Finally, I hit send. And then, I waited. The waiting is the worst part. My apartment was so quiet I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator. The glow of the laptop lit the walls, and I just sat there, my hands still on the keyboard, staring at the screen. Every second stretched. Then a ping. A new message. Just 2 words. Proof first. My jaw tightened. This was it, the first step through the door. I typed back, asking for proof of life. My fingers were steady, my breathing was not. A few seconds later, a file appeared. My throat went dry. I clicked it open. The video was short, less than 10 seconds. The image was grainy, the lighting dim. But I will never forget what I saw. A toddler. Sitting on a thin, stained mattress in a room with peeling paint. The walls were bare. No toys. No color. Just shadows. She looked straight at the camera, her face blank with confusion. She wasn't crying, almost like she didn't have tears left to cry. Then a hand entered the frame. A man's hand. It grabbed her wrist gently but firmly, made her wave. Then the video ended. I just sat there, staring at the frozen last frame. Her tiny hand still raised, her eyes wide and empty. I've seen terrible things on the job. But this was different. I thought of my niece, she had just turned 3. I thought of the way she laughed, the way she always reached out for me when I visited. And suddenly this wasn't just a case anymore. This wasn't just another operation. This was personal. I took a screenshot of the video, saved it in 3 different places. I encrypted the file, added it to a secure evidence folder. This wasn't just about catching one guy anymore, this was about saving her. I leaned back in my chair and rubbed my face with both hands. My apartment was still dark, still quiet, but it felt like the air had changed. Heavier. Charged. That's when the decision became final. I wasn't going to flag this and wait for someone else to take over. I wasn't going to be just a name on the case file. I was going in. The next few hours were a blur. I deepened the fake identity, set up encrypted email, built a fake history, even added fake transaction logs to make it look like I'd bought before. In this world, trust is currency. If you don't look like you belong, they vanish. Every message I sent was a balancing act. Say too little and they think you're a cop. Say too much and they think you're stupid. The trick is to talk like someone who thinks this is normal. That's the hardest part, pretending you don't care while your blood is boiling. I played the role, asked the questions, waited for answers. The man on the other end was cautious but willing. We exchanged a few messages, all business. No names, no emotions. He told me the price. I told him I could pay. He told me the delivery options. I asked about the timeline. All the while, I saved everything. Every chat, every file, every timestamp. Evidence builds cases, but right now, evidence was also a lifeline. I leaned back and closed my eyes for a moment. I could still see her face burned into my mind. That was when I made myself a promise, I was going to find her. No matter how far this went. No matter what it took. I turned back to the screen, typed my next message, and hit send. And somewhere, on the other end of the world, someone read it. And replied. And just like that, the hunt had begun. When I woke up the next morning, I half hoped it had all been a bad dream. But when I sat down at my desk, the laptop screen brought me straight back to reality. The chat window was still open. The last message from him just sat there, waiting. I cracked my knuckles, took a deep breath, and typed. Ready to move forward. Need details. A part of me wondered if he'd vanish. People on the dark web are ghosts, here 1 second, gone the next. But a minute later, his reply popped up. Payment first. Then location. Classic. Always money first. I had to be careful here. If I wired real cash, I'd be breaking every protocol. If I refused to pay, he'd disappear. So I stalled. Need to confirm product before payment, I typed back, forcing my hands to stay steady. Not first time. You know the rules. It was a bluff, but a believable one. In this market, buyers and sellers play a constant game of chicken. Silence. The blinking cursor mocked me. My mind raced, what if he shut it down? What if that little girl slipped further out of reach because I pushed too hard? Then, ping. He sent a new message. Okay. Second proof. Short clip. I didn't breathe as I clicked the link. This time it wasn't a video. It was a series of still images. Each one worse than the last. The first photo showed the same girl from last night, but now I could see more of the room. The mattress, the cracked concrete floor. A single bare light bulb hung from the ceiling. The second photo showed 2 other kids, boys, maybe 5 or 6. They were sitting in the corner, staring blankly at the camera, like they'd been told to sit still. The third photo made my stomach clench. It showed all 3 children lined up against the wall. A man's shadow fell across the frame, the photographer. My jaw tightened so hard it hurt. This wasn't just a single child in danger. This was bigger. I sent a message before my anger could take over. How many total? Age. Condition. He took longer to reply this time. 3. 2 boys, 1 girl. 2, 5, 6. All healthy. Good condition. Good condition. Like they were products. I swallowed my rage. I couldn't afford to blow my cover. Need FaceTime, I typed. Too much risk. Live video or call. I expected him to refuse. But after a pause, he sent me something that made my pulse spike, a Proton mail address. Send details. one-time call. No record. I leaned back, staring at the screen. This was it, the next level. Once I opened that line of communication, there was no turning back. I switched laptops again, set up a burner email account, and sent him an encrypted message. I told him I was ready whenever he was. Hours passed. Every creak of the apartment made me tense. Every car passing outside felt too loud. Then, notification. New email. Ready now. Video. No record. I clicked the link. My webcam light stayed dark. Good, the spoof worked. His camera came online. The feed was shaky, handheld. For a second, all I saw was a pair of dirty boots on a dusty floor. Then the camera tilted up. There she was. The little girl sat in the corner, clutching her knees. Someone off camera barked something. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew the tone. She looked at the camera and nodded once, like she'd been trained to. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood. Payment now, the man's voice said. His accent was thick, hard to place. Eastern European maybe. The feed shifted. I caught a glimpse of his hand, tattooed, holding the phone. I pay when safe, I said, keeping my voice low and even. Need to know route. Need to know delivery point. No trust, no deal. Silence. Then a low laugh. You sound like cop. My pulse spiked. Then no deal, I said quickly, adding a scoff. Waste my time. I find other seller. He didn't like that. His tone sharpened. No other seller have this. You want her? You pay. I send you map. Easy. We stared at each other through the screen for a long moment. Send me half route now, I said finally. Show me you real. Then I send half money. Rest after pickup. Another long silence. Then, unbelievably, he nodded. You get half. But no cops. You cop, they die. Then the screen went black. I sat there in the dark, my heart hammering against my ribs. This was it. This was the kind of break you dream of as an agent, and dread as a human being. The next email came 15 minutes later. It was a map file, low resolution, but enough. It showed a small town near the border, a warehouse marked with an X. My hands were already moving, forwarding the file to our task force, spinning up a rapid response protocol. This was no longer just me in a room. This was a full operation. But I couldn't just hand it over and step back. Not now. I had his trust. Or at least enough of it. And trust is the one thing you can't buy back once it's gone. So I stayed online. Kept the conversation going. Kept him believing I was still in. Every word was another step deeper into the pit. By midnight, we had teams mobilizing toward the location. I stayed awake, watching every message, answering every question, playing my part. At one point he sent me another video, this one of the boys. One of them looked straight at the camera and whispered something. The audio was faint, but I caught a single word. Help. That was all I needed. I wasn't just chasing a criminal anymore. I was chasing time. And time was running out. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. The clock on my wall ticked past 3 a.m. as I sat there, staring at the map glowing on my laptop. A single red X on a cheap image file, and yet it felt like the whole world had narrowed down to that point. We had one shot. One shot to catch him. One shot to save those kids. By 4 a.m., the operation was greenlit. I grabbed my go bag from the closet, the same one I keep packed for emergencies. Body armor. Comms gear. Badge. The weight of the vest in my hands felt heavier than usual. On my way out the door, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. My face looked different, tighter, older, like I'd aged a year overnight. This wasn't just another job anymore. The drive to the airfield was silent. The city was still asleep, streets empty except for the occasional truck rumbling by. I couldn't stop thinking about that last video, the boy whispering for help. It played over and over in my head. When I got to the airstrip, the team was already there. Half a dozen agents in black gear, faces grim, loading equipment into a transport plane. We all knew what we were walking into, and what could go wrong. My supervisor, Agent Ramirez, walked over. He's been doing this longer than me, and nothing shakes him. But even he looked tense. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly. "No," I said honestly. "But we don't have a choice." He nodded once. That was all we needed to say. The flight was short, under an hour. We landed just as the sun started bleeding across the horizon, painting the sky orange and red. Normally it's beautiful. This time it felt like a warning. Local law enforcement met us at the strip, a couple of deputies, rough around the edges but solid guys. We went over the plan in a dusty hangar. "Perimeter teams here and here," Ramirez said, jabbing at the map on the hood of a pickup truck. "Entry team will breach from the west side. No lights until my signal." I listened, nodding, but my mind was already inside the building, imagining where they might be keeping the kids, how much time we had left before he decided to cut and run. When the briefing ended, I stepped aside and pulled out my burner laptop. I had one last message to send. Money ready. Waiting for confirmation before transfer. Need live proof, all three still there. Then I shut the laptop and waited. The reply came 20 minutes later, just before we rolled out. A single image. The girl. The two boys. All sitting on the same mattress, clutching each other. Alive. I exhaled slowly, then looked at Ramirez. "They're there," I said. He nodded once. "Then let's move." The convoy rolled out in silence. Just the crunch of tires on gravel, the low hum of engines. My vest felt too tight, my throat dry. When we were half a mile from the target, we killed the headlights. The world outside turned dark except for the faint pre-dawn glow. We parked behind a line of trees. Everyone got out quietly, checking weapons, loading gear. The air smelled like wet earth and gasoline. I pulled the earpiece into place and whispered, "Comms check." "Check," Ramirez said in my ear. "Check," the perimeter team echoed. Then we moved. Then we moved. The warehouse loomed ahead, a black shape against the dim horizon. It looked abandoned, metal siding rusted, windows broken. But I knew better. We stacked up along the west wall, crouched low. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. Ramirez held up a fist. We froze. He mouthed, "On 3. 1. 2. 3. The breach charge went off with a low thud, and the door swung inward. We poured in. My flashlight cut through the darkness, beam slicing across concrete and crates. The air was thick with dust. "Clear," someone shouted from the left. "Clear," from the right. Then, movement. A figure darted through a doorway at the back. "Contact." Ramirez barked. Two agents broke off, sprinting after him. I headed for the doorway on the right, the one with a padlock hanging broken. My gut told me this was it. Inside, it was pitch dark. The smell hit me first, mildew, sweat, fear. I swept my light across the room, and froze. There they were. All three children, huddled together in the corner, eyes wide from the blast. "It's okay," I said, lowering my weapon, voice as soft as I could make it. "We're here to take you home." They didn't move at first. They just stared at me. Then the little girl crawled forward. I scooped her up with one arm and motioned to the others. "Come on. We're getting out of here." One of the boys hesitated, glancing back toward the shadows. "It's okay," I said again, gentler. "He can't hurt you now." That seemed to break the spell. They came. I carried the girl out, the boys clinging to my vest. When we got outside, the first rays of sun broke over the horizon. It felt like the world was exhaling with me. But it wasn't over yet. From inside the warehouse came a shout, then a gunshot. I shoved the kids toward an agent at the perimeter. "Get them out of here," I barked. Then I turned back and ran inside. The chase wasn't done. I sprinted back into the warehouse, my boots pounding against the concrete. The echo of that gunshot still rang in my ears. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of gunpowder. My flashlight beam darted across crates and broken machinery until I spotted Ramirez crouched near a pillar, weapon raised. "He's pinned in the back room," Ramirez whispered over comms. "Cornered, but armed." My pulse thudded in my neck. This was the moment. The man who had put those kids in cages was right there, just yards away. "Let me talk to him," I said quietly. Ramirez shot me a look, surprised. "Talk. If he's desperate, he'll do something stupid. Let me keep him calm. Buy time." After a tense second, he nodded. I moved slowly toward the back room, gun at the ready, careful not to make sudden noise. The door was half open. I could hear him breathing inside, short, ragged gasps. Then I heard his voice, low and sharp. "Stay back," he shouted. I took a breath. "Listen to me," I called back, keeping my voice steady but loud enough to carry. "Nobody has to die tonight." Silence. I stepped closer, just enough to see him. He was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s. Hair buzzed short, arms tattooed from wrist to shoulder. His pistol was shaking in his hands. "You don't understand," he spat. "They'll kill me if I stop. You think I wanted this?" His words caught me off guard. "Who?" I asked carefully. He laughed, a bitter sound. "You think I'm the only one? I'm just the middleman. There are people above me, people you'll never find." I took another step closer. "Then help me find them," I said. He shook his head violently. "You don't get it. I didn't choose this. I owed money. Big money. This was the only way to pay it off. You take me in, I'm dead by morning." I could see the sweat running down his temple, the way his grip on the gun tightened. "You still have a choice," I said quietly. "Right now, you have a choice. You can go out shooting and end it here, or you can help me stop the people who put you in this." For a moment, I thought he might lower the weapon. His arm wavered. Then he snarled. "They don't stop. You don't stop them. This is bigger than you." "Maybe," I said. "But I can stop you. And I can make sure those kids get home." His jaw clenched. "You think you're a hero?" he asked. "You think you're saving the world? You're just a cop with a gun. When you walk away, this business keeps running." His words hit me harder than I expected. Because deep down, I knew he wasn't entirely wrong. But I couldn't let that stop me. "Maybe I can't stop it all," I said evenly. "But I can stop this. Right here. Right now." For a long moment, we just stared at each other across that dim room, two men on opposite sides of a line neither of us could uncross. Then he moved. His gun came up, faster than I wanted to believe. 2 shots rang out. The first hit the wall inches from my shoulder. The second never left his gun. Ramirez's shot took him in the chest. He dropped hard, the pistol clattering across the concrete. I rushed forward, kicking the gun away and dropping to my knees. He was still breathing, shallow, ragged breaths. I grabbed his wrist, checked his pulse. "Stay with me," I said, even though I wasn't sure I meant it. He coughed, blood on his lips. His eyes found mine. "They won't stop," he whispered. Then his head went still. I sat there for a moment, breathing hard, staring down at him. Then Ramirez's voice cut through my earpiece. "Area clear. Kids are safe. We're good." I stood slowly, my knees aching. Outside, the sun was fully up now, casting light across the dirt lot. The kids were in a patrol car with a deputy, wrapped in blankets. The little girl saw me and pressed her hand to the window. For the first time all night, I felt my chest loosen. We got them out. We saved them. But I knew this wasn't the end. Back at the safe house later that morning, I sat at a metal table staring at the evidence, the laptop, the photos, the recordings. My report was already half written, but I couldn't shake his last words. "They won't stop." He was right. The network was still out there. And now I had a new mission. Before I closed my laptop, I opened my burner account one last time and sent a single message into the dark web channel. Transaction complete. Need new supplier. Then I closed the lid. The hunt wasn't over. Not for me. And not for them. I turned to the camera, to you, watching this right now, and let out a long breath. This is why we do what we do, I said. Because out there, somewhere, another kid is waiting for someone to show up. Someone like me. Someone like you, if you care enough to speak up. My voice went quiet, just above a whisper. If you want to keep hearing these stories, real cases, real operations, subscribe to my channel. Share this with someone who needs to see what really happens out there. This isn't just content. This is reality. I leaned back, staring into the lens. And the fight is far from over. I didn't sleep much that night. The hotel room was quiet, but my head was loud. Every face I had seen, every whisper I had heard, kept replaying. I stared at the ceiling and thought about those children. Where were they now? Were they alive? Were they waiting for someone like me to find them, or had we already failed them? By morning, my mission was clear. I couldn't just sit behind my laptop and gather intel. This wasn't just another sting. It was personal now. I wanted to shut this down, every last part of it, and bring those kids home. But the thing about infiltrating these networks is, once you're in deep. You can't half-play the game. You have to talk like them, act like them, sometimes even think like them. It's like standing on the edge of a cliff, hoping you don't slip. So, that morning, I logged back in. The same forums, the same usernames, the same sick little world. I wrote to the broker, the men who had been the gatekeeper to this nightmare. Package was good, I typed. Looking for more. Something fresh. It made my stomach turn to even write those words, but if I wanted him to trust me, I had to sound like every other predator out there. His reply came almost instantly. You're serious, he wrote. I like serious people. Meet me online tonight. We talk. That was it. No details, no emojis, just cold business. I waited all day, pretending to be calm, but my nerves were shot. At 10 p.m. sharp, I got a message with a video chat link, heavily encrypted, bouncing through servers all over the world. I clicked it. The screen flickered, and a man's face appeared. Late 30s, maybe early 40s, sharp jaw, shaved head. His camera was slightly angled up, making him look bigger, intimidating. You're the new guy, he said, his accent faintly Eastern European. You want to buy? Or you want to sell? Buy, I said, my voice steady. Just got into this scene. Looking for a regular supplier. He nodded slowly. Good. We like regulars. But first, we test you. You send money, you get preview. Then we talk about more. I knew this was coming, the buy-in. The Bureau had given me the green light to go this far, to play along just enough to keep my cover, but not cross any legal or moral line we couldn't come back from. I can send crypto tonight, I said. He smiled, just a little. Perfect. Then I send you what you like. Something new. Something special. The word special made my stomach tighten. After the call, we sent the money, marked bills, traceable, part of the operation. Within an hour, he sent me a video file. I won't describe what was in that file. I don't think I could, even if I wanted to. All I can say is that I stopped it halfway through, took a deep breath, and called my supervisor. This is it, I told him. This is our guy. The next few days were a blur of surveillance. We traced his IP, a miracle, considering how many layers he had tried to hide behind. We watched his accounts. We followed his cryptocurrency trail. Slowly, piece by piece, we were building a map. And then, something happened that changed everything. 2 nights later, he reached out again. You seem smart, he wrote. Maybe you want to make money too. You find kids, you get cut. Big cut. I stared at the message for a long time. He wasn't just selling. He was recruiting. He wanted me, the new buyer, to bring him more victims. I played it cool. Maybe. but I'd need to see the operation first. You will, he said. Soon. Big shipment coming in. Special order. You will like. That was our break. If we could find out where that shipment was happening, we could be there, on the ground, ready to stop it. But there was a problem. We had intel, yes. We had a trail, yes. But we still didn't have enough to guarantee a takedown without losing half the network. These guys were ghosts, take one out too early, and the rest vanish. So, we waited. Those days felt like years. Every night, I'd log in, pretending to be excited, pretending to be one of them, all while praying I wasn't too late for whatever kids they had. And then it happened. He sent me a location. Not an address, but coordinates. Remote. Somewhere far outside the city, in a place most people would never go. This weekend, he wrote. Be there. Bring cash. No cash, no deal. It was risky, a face-to-face meet with someone this dangerous could go wrong in 100 different ways. But if we pulled this off, we could save lives. The Bureau greenlit the op. We prepped for days. Surveillance teams, SWAT, backup, everyone was ready. I would go in wired, pretending to be the buyer, and when the deal went down, we'd move in. That night, as I drove out to the meeting spot, I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. The place was an abandoned warehouse, the kind of place you see in movies where bad things happen. I parked, stepped out, and waited. Then I saw him, the broker. He was exactly as I'd seen him on camera, but in person, he was taller, heavier, scarier. He smiled at me like we were old friends. You came, he said. I said I would. He nodded and motioned me inside. The air smelled like rust and oil. The floor was covered in dust, but there were fresh tire marks, someone had been here recently. You have money, he asked. Yes. Good. Then you see product. He whistled, and two men came from the shadows, leading a small, terrified group forward. Kids. Real kids. My heart sank. This was it. The nightmare was real, right in front of me. I gave the signal. Within seconds, the warehouse exploded with sound, shouting, boots hitting the floor, lights flashing. SWAT poured in from every side. Chaos broke out. The broker tried to run, but he didn't make it 10 feet before they had him on the ground, handcuffed. The kids were crying, confused, scared, but they were alive. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. When it was over, I stood outside the warehouse, looking at the flashing police lights against the night sky. This wasn't the end, not even close. There were more of them out there, more brokers, more buyers, more sellers. But tonight, we had won one battle. And maybe, just maybe, a few children would get to go home because of it. The warehouse was quiet now, except for the hum of police radios and the occasional cry of a rescued child. The dust had settled, literally and figuratively, but I couldn't shake the image of their faces, wide-eyed, shaking, clutching each other. I stood there for a while, breathing in the night air, trying to steady my heart. My supervisor walked over and clapped me on the shoulder. Good job, he said. You did exactly what we needed you to do. But I didn't feel like celebrating. It wasn't enough. For every broker we put in handcuffs, there were 10 more out there, waiting, watching, moving money around like nothing happened. The next morning, I was in the interrogation room. The broker sat across from me, cuffed to the table. His expression wasn't angry, wasn't afraid, just annoyed. Like we'd inconvenienced him. You think you stopped something, he said, his accent heavier now that he wasn't trying to impress me. But you didn't. Someone else will pick up tomorrow. Always someone else. Maybe, I said. But not you. He smirked. You want to know why I do this? You think I am monster, yes. Maybe. But I give people what they already want. Demand is there. If not me, someone else. I just make money. It was infuriating, the way he spoke so casually about human lives, about children as if they were products on a shelf. You had a choice, I said, leaning forward. You chose to hurt them. He shrugged. Choice? No. I grew up poor. No chance. World is cruel. I just survive. And there it was, his motivation. Not some grand scheme, not some twisted ideology. Just greed. Just survival twisted into something darker. But he wasn't wrong about one thing: shutting him down didn't end the network. If anything, it sent a message, and not necessarily the one we wanted. Within days, we saw movement online. Forums went dark. New ones popped up. Accounts we'd been monitoring vanished overnight. Whoever was still out there had gone to ground, and they were angry. Then came the message. An anonymous post, directed straight at me. We know who you are. We know where you live. You can't hide forever. It was a threat, sure, but more than that, it was a warning. They were coming after us. For the first time in my career, I felt real fear. Not just for myself, but for my family. I called my wife that night, told her to take the kids and stay with her parents for a while. Is it that bad? She asked. It might be, I said. Just go. Please. That was the hardest part of this job, knowing the danger didn't stop when I clocked out. We doubled our efforts. Every agent on the task force was pulling double shifts, chasing leads, trying to get ahead of whatever the network was planning. Then, one night, we got a hit. A known associate of the broker logged in from a location we hadn't seen before, a small, rural airstrip miles from the city. Intel suggested it wasn't just a hideout. It was a transfer point. They were planning to move more kids out of the country, fast. This was our chance to hit them again, to deal a real blow to the network. The plan came together quickly. We'd move in quiet, no sirens, no flashing lights this time. We'd catch them in the act and cut off their pipeline at the source. I volunteered to go in first. You sure? My supervisor asked. Yes, I said. I started this. I finish it. The night of the raid, I sat in the surveillance van, listening to the hum of equipment, watching grainy drone footage of the airstrip. 2 hangars, a couple of trucks, a small plane, and men, lots of them, moving crates back and forth. Targets confirmed, the tech whispered. I took a deep breath and checked my gear. Vest secure. Wire live. Gun loaded. Ready. Ready. We moved in slow, careful. The night was silent except for the crunch of boots on gravel. I could see them now, 2 guards outside the hangar, smoking, laughing about something. Then, a noise, a shout from inside. Move. Get them on the plane now. We didn't wait. Go. Go. We stormed the hangar, and everything exploded at once. Men scrambled, some reaching for weapons, others trying to run. Gunfire erupted, loud, deafening. I ducked behind a crate, heart pounding, ears ringing. Then I saw them, the kids, huddled in a corner, wide-eyed, terrified. I ran for them, yelling for them to stay down. One of the traffickers saw me and aimed. Before I could react, one of our guys took him down. Get them out, he shouted. I grabbed the nearest child, a little girl who couldn't have been more than 6, and carried her outside to the waiting vans. One by one, we got them all out. By the time it was over, several traffickers were dead, others in cuffs, and the plane was secured. It wasn't pretty. It never is. But it was done. When the sun came up, I sat on the back of the van, watching the kids get checked by medics. One of them, the little girl I'd carried, walked over and hugged me. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. That moment made every sleepless night, every risk, every scar worth it. But even then, I knew this war wasn't over. And that's why I keep telling this story. Because people need to know this is happening. Right now. In places you'd never imagine. If you're watching this, if you've stayed with me this far, don't just turn this off and forget. Share it. Talk about it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel AI Nurabeat, because the more we spread the word, the harder it gets for people like the broker to hide. This fight is bigger than me. Bigger than one operation. But together, maybe we can make sure fewer kids end up in those hangars. The raid was over, but the sound of it stayed with me. Even back in my apartment, days later, I could still hear the crack of gunfire, the shouting, the crying. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with my shirt soaked in sweat, heart hammering like I was back inside that hangar. The Bureau debriefed me the next morning. They congratulated us. Commended us. One of the biggest busts of the year, the director said. But my mind wasn't on the victory. It was on the little girl who hugged me, the boy who wouldn't let go of my sleeve, the teenager who stared at me like she didn't know whether to trust me or hate me for what I'd seen her go through. We saved them, yes. But we couldn't give them back what they'd lost. A week later, I was called to testify. Closed-door hearing. High level. Politicians, lawyers, people in suits who'd never set foot in a warehouse like the one we stormed. I told them everything. The forums, the fake name, the Bitcoin transfers, the face-to-face with the broker. They nodded, took notes, asked about operational protocols, and data collection methods. But no one asked me the question that haunted me most. No one asked me how it felt to sit across from a man who sold children like commodities. No one asked me what it does to a person to pretend to be interested in the darkest things humanity can offer. When the hearing was over, one of the senators shook my hand. "You did a great thing," he said. "You should be proud." I smiled, said thank you, and then went home, sat in my car in the driveway, and cried until I couldn't breathe. The truth is, I wasn't proud. I was angry. Angry at the men we caught. Angry at the ones who got away. Angry at the world for letting this kind of evil exist in the first place. And then there was the guilt. Because as much as we stopped, I kept thinking about the ones we didn't. Every night, I'd log back into those forums under my Undercover profile, and they were still there. Different names, different servers, but the same conversations. The same sick hunger. I started to wonder if we were winning at all, or just playing whack-a-mole with a monster that never really dies. That's when I knew this story couldn't stay in a case file. It couldn't just be another report on some politician's desk. People needed to hear it. So, I started recording. Not as an agent, but as a person. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I'd sit at my kitchen table with just a microphone and tell everything exactly as it happened. At first, it was just for me, a way to get it out, to stop it from rotting in my head. But then I thought, what if telling this could stop even one person from clicking on one of those links? What if it made just one person pay attention and report something suspicious? What if it scared some kid out of joining one of those forums? So I kept going. And that's why you're hearing me now. If you've made it this far, if you've stayed through every part of this story, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. Not just because it helps the channel, though it does, but because it means you won't miss what comes next. Because I'm not done. This fight isn't over, and I'm going to keep exposing what's out there, keep shining a light where most people are too afraid to look. And I need you with me. Because the truth is, this isn't just an FBI problem. It's not just a law enforcement problem. It's a human problem. The internet has made it easier than ever for predators to hide, to connect, to exploit the most vulnerable among us. But it's also made it easier for us to find them. If we have enough eyes looking. Every share, every like, every comment keeps this conversation alive. And maybe, just maybe, it saves the next child before they disappear. I took a leave of absence after that case. The Bureau called it recovery time, but really, it was survival time. I needed to breathe, to see my kids, to remind myself that not every child in the world was in danger. But even now, when I walk through a grocery store or sit in a park, I scan faces. I watch strangers a little too closely. Because once you've seen what I've seen, you never stop looking. I know we can't save them all. But we can save some. And that has to be enough, at least for tonight. It's been years since the case closed, but some nights it feels like it was yesterday. I still see the warehouse. I still hear the plane engine humming on that airstrip. I still see the kids, every single one of their faces. Some of them were reunited with their families. Others went into foster care. A few didn't make it through the trauma. That part hurts the most. You tell yourself you did your job, you saved lives, but the truth is, saving them is only step one. Healing takes years. I keep in touch with one of them, the little girl I carried out of the hangar that night. She's not so little anymore. She sent me a drawing on my last birthday, me, holding her hand, walking her out into the light. It's framed on my wall now. Whenever I start to doubt why I do what I do, I look at it. Sometimes I wonder about the broker. He's in federal prison now, serving a sentence that means he'll never see freedom again. But I wonder if he even cares. The last thing he said to me, in that cold interrogation room, still rings in my head. You think you won. But we are everywhere. And he's not wrong. Every time one of those sites is shut down, another one pops up. Every time a trafficker is arrested, 2 more take his place. But here's the thing, every time we stop one, every time we save one child, we tip the scale just a little. And that's worth fighting for. I'm not an undercover agent anymore. I left the job after one last case, one last sting operation that nearly broke me. But I couldn't just walk away from the fight completely. That's why I started this channel. Because the fight doesn't stop just because I took off the badge. When I sit down to tell these stories, I'm not just talking to a camera. I'm talking to you, to the person on the other side of the screen who might think this is something that only happens in movies, or far away in some other country. I'm here to tell you, it's not. It's in your city. Your neighborhood. Sometimes, in your own backyard. That's why I need you to stay. Don't just click away after this. Don't just think, wow, what a crazy story, and go back to scrolling. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video. Because every time you do, someone else learns what to watch for. Someone else might spot something suspicious. Someone else might make a call that saves a life. I've seen evil up close. And I've seen what happens when good people stay silent. But I've also seen what happens when we refuse to look away. I've seen kids come home. I've seen families get that call, the one they've been waiting for, that their child is safe. I've seen broken lives begin to heal. And I've seen monsters fall. You have a choice right now, just like I had a choice the night I logged into that forum for the first time. You can look away. Or you can stay. Because the truth is, you're part of this story now too. If you've watched this far, if you felt even a fraction of what I felt standing in that hangar, then you already know what you need to do. Keep your eyes open. Keep talking about it. Keep shining a light on the darkness. Because evil hates the light. This was my story. But it doesn't end with me. It continues. It continues every day, in every corner of the world where someone decides to fight back, where someone refuses to let another child disappear. And if you're here, listening, maybe you're one of those people too. So, thank you for staying. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of this fight with me. Because one day, I want to sit in front of this camera and tell you something I've been waiting my whole career to say. It's over. We got them all. Until then, we keep going. Together.